Thanks, Joan Collins. First of all, I'd like to say hi and welcome to everybody in the gallery, and also to Eileen for being here today, providing the Joint Committee on Key Issues Affecting the Travelling Community, which was established in September 2020 and was set up to complete the work initiated by the previous Joint Committee. And I want to make particular reference to Colette Kelleher, who played a major role in that in that committee. We looked at 4 areas: physical health, mental health and suicide levels, where there's 21 recommendations. School completion rates and educational attainment, particularly at second and third level compared to the settled community. There's 23 recommendations on that. Labour market participation, having regard to the unemployment rate of 80% among travellers, there was 22 recommendations on that section, and access to housing and accommodation, including traveller-specific accommodation, in the context of the significantly higher homelessness rate among travellers compared to the settled population. And there was 18 recommendations in relation to that. And I just want to make a point that, and it has been said here already, that over the years there's been numerous reports sitting on the shelves, gathering dust in relation to the travelling community and other areas, but specifically the travelling community. And what we want to see from this report is its implementation. And that's going to really be the, how would you say, the test of this debate here today, because I think any TD, any public rep, and including local councillors, I think we ought to bring this to our local councillors. By agreeing to this, it bestows on every single one of us to implement this in a positive way, and at all times support the travelling community in the recommendations that are in this report. And that would mean us all playing that positive role around the travelling communities and not undermining the recommendations that have been made in this report. I just want to make one point. It's the first time that we've seen Cant actually in the language of the travelling community in a report, and I think that's very, very important, and it's a milestone really from our point of view. As I said, there's 4 areas. There are some recommendations that could have been implemented by now. Number 6 of the health report, the National Traveller Health Action Plan should be published as a matter of urgency, and an independent implementation body with ring-fenced budgets to drive, deliver and implement should be established. Has that been done? Is it in train? Can the Minister respond? In education, restore the dedicated funding to travel education cut in the 2011-2012 period in full, and ring-fence it to provide supplementary education support for members of the travelling community where they would benefit from same. Has that been done? Very simple. This report has been out now, it's been for the last 5 months. Has that been put in place, and has it been set in train? And maybe the Minister can reply. On employment, there should be formal positive action measures for recruiting travellers to the public sector. These programmes need to be led and funded from central government. The Department of Public Expenditure and Reform should be the lead department as it fits within their remit. Has that been done? Very simple, straightforward. It's something that we can implement quite quickly. Can the Minister's report? And on housing, the National Traveller Accommodation Authority should be established to oversee the development and implementation of traveller accommodation policy. Has that been done? Is it in train? Can a report be brought to us in relation to that? And the other area under housing, SENA should be funded to advise social housing landlords on the design, location and management of traveller-specific accommodation projects. Another area where SENA is a housing body that can play a key leading role in relation to traveller housing accommodation. I want to make in the last few seconds, we did visit a number of sites in Dublin, Cork and Galway. And when I went onto the site along with my colleagues to Spring Lane, it was absolutely appalling to see people having to live in the conditions they were living. But on the other hand, when you walked into those people's homes and they welcomed us into their homes, the the pride and the running of their home was absolutely brilliant. And that's not being patronising, but it compared to the conditions they were living in. And you know, it's hest on this government and this Dáil to ensure that the areas around where the travelling community are living are up to standard to their homes. And I think that point should be made. Last, I want to just mention the National Travel Women's Forum, who did send over an email in relation to the debate today, and thank them for doing that. And then just the last point I want to make. President Higgins was at to mark the Travel Ethnicity Day at NUI Galway on Tuesday, I think it was, where he said, and I just want to end on this, on a day when the long and sometimes difficult journey of travellers was being honoured, he said it was a vital that society should never be slow to point out to what has yet to be achieved. And I'll end on that and ask this Dáil to implement that. And maybe we should get a report back on all these recommendations, possibly every 8 months, invite the ministers in to update us on where the recommendations are.
Thank you for that.